Okay, we're at 12:16. I'm going to go ahead and get going. The session is taped and hopefully more people will view it from that mode. The agenda for this time is I'm going to go over how to review what's new in transit because there was a whole bunch that changed between our June session and now, and I don't have time to present it all here. So I'll just go over how everyone can go out and look at that. The second thing we're going to talk about is percent driver columns in plans. And I know several of our clients are using plans now, but there's others that aren't using it. And that really, to me, is a huge difference in the enhancements this month for plans. So hopefully everyone will appreciate what we've added there. We're going to go over work queue management for managing, work queues for managing content changes. And again, we've always been able to know where tasks and workflows were in scenarios, but we've added functionality that makes it easier to update that. And then the tip of the month. So to get to what's new in transit is a 2-click process. You first of all click reports in the menu, and then you select the release notes, and you can scroll through, and everything we've implemented from the beginning of transit is there. And I'll quickly show that when I get inside the system. We added what are called percent driver columns in plans. And so what percent driver columns allow you to do is to say that a specific column in an existing plan adds to the percent complete when that field is valued for a specific activity. So lots of you have built plans in the past that use our custom column feature and use specific columns to drive whether or not everything has been done for that specific row, whether it's a charge or whether it's a patient being registered or whatever it is. And you always had to manually calculate the percent complete. And so we've now added functionality that allows that to be automatic. And there's a whole bunch of different things that it can be used for. I've given a few examples there. Backloads, so whether you're backloading in-house patients for a new facility go live, or you're adding on new clinics and doing scheduling backloads and clinical data backloads. Also, a couple of our clients are using it now for data validation. So that can be for things like your year-end updates to CPT codes and HCPCS, or that could be if you're going live with a new patient billing system and you want to validate claims from the old system to the new system. And then we've also got a client now, I listed MPI uploads there, but we've also got a client using it for validating provider data for a Kairos implementation. So I know Kairos is a hot topic out there now, but that's another thing that it can be used for. The other thing I'm going to show then is the work queues. And like I said previously, you've always been able to track where tasks and workflows are used. So on the tasks page, has always showed you tasks where they were used in either workflows or scenarios. And on the workflows page, it's always showed you where workflows were used in a scenario. But it used to just be a list. And then in Transit 5, we added links to those specific places. But in Transit 6, we've also added a work queue. So you can add tasks or workflows to the work queue. And then as you work through it, you click to remove them from the work queue. So basically, if you had a task or a workflow that you'd updated it and it was used in 20 different places, you have to track manually previously where those 20 places were, and now you can do it automatically. I usually save the tip of the month till the end. I'm going to review what it is right now in case there's questions on it, and so we can actually potentially show it as well. And that's that paste from clipboard is used a lot, and it doesn't need to be used nearly as much as it used to be. So that's how you used to be able to load test scripts into Transit. And I know a lot of sites would export a script to Excel and re-import it. And that's just going to give you a whole bunch of duplicate ZZZ tasks that you're never going to use. But what you can actually do is you can actually copy either between plans or scenarios by using our copy and paste functionality. And when you do that, it retains the tasks and workflow numbers. So by doing copy and paste, as opposed to exporting to Excel and importing in from Excel, it retains all of those numbers with the pointers to both tasks and workflows. Okay, so going over the agenda, I'll now instead switch over to TransIT. Oops. And where I'm going to go first is to TransIT plans, and I'll show you the functionality with regards to the custom columns percent driver. So here's an example of a plan for doing an in-house backload. So the site is getting ready to go live in a new facility, and so they need to make sure all of the patients are in the correct beds. So what I've used is I've eliminated most of the standard columns and I've added custom columns. I've left in the activity and renamed it to room. I guess I should have called it room in bed. And you see you can assign, in this case, typically when you're doing an in-house backload, you'll have informatics own a specific floor or a couple of floors where people are doing the backloads. And so I've left in the assigned column. This column here for Finn is where as the patients get registered, and you can see, you know, they've stopped registering here, and this is supposed to be for a go live tomorrow. As they put in the patient into the system, they've added the FIN number here. When they add the FIN number, if I go down here and add the FIN number, when I either tab out of that field or hit enter, you can see what it did was it automatically updated the percent complete. So as they go through then, and the next team, you know, somebody's doing the PAMI plus P stuff, then somebody's doing the non-med orders, and then pharmacy's doing the med orders, and then you're doing a quality check. As they go through and start ticking these boxes as complete, it continuously updates the percent complete. If you have an issue, you can, as you can see here, this one has an issue. So you right click and you do log new issue. In this case, it's already done. And you can see it's the assigned height and weight was missing from the patient chart. So we've assigned somebody to go and get it. So again, like by doing this for your in-house backload, you instantly know if we go back to the plans page, the percent complete. So my in-house backload is I'm going live tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. I've only got 17% done. So maybe I should be concerned, but I've got 88 that are not started, 53. So it's obviously a small hospital, 53 that are in process, and I've got 2 issues. If I wanted to see what those issues are, I can click here to go to the filtered list of activities with the issues. And then again, you can just hover over the issue number or click it if you want to actually go into the issue. So if I was the person who was responsible for this issue and I'd completed it, I can go in and say, you know, that it's complete, and then it'll show as closed here. So this is one use for it. But again, there's a lot of clients who are using it for things like, you know, you're going live with a new solution and you need to validate that all of the charges are dropping appropriately. That's another use. Lots of different things you could use this for. Device deployment. So if one team was responsible for deploying the device and somebody else was responsible for configuring it and making sure that it works in the application, you can set it up for things like that as well. I'm going to stop and ask if anyone has any questions around this. Okay, to do the custom columns, all you do is you right click on the header and you do change column, custom columns, and it brings up a list of all of the columns, so including the standard ones. You can see a lot of the standard ones I've gone in and hidden, and the ones that I've created for this one here I've modified. Oh, no, I didn't. I just changed the order of them. This one here is one that's custom that I've created. So if I want to go in and look at the column, I can just right click and click edit. And here what I did was I selected percent complete driver. So saying that this column drives the percent complete. This one is a text box. All the rest of mine are check boxes. If you want to do a check box one, you choose number as the data type and check box as the control type. The only thing you need to be careful about doing when you're in here is remembering to check the percent driver and remembering that the display sequence shows the order of the columns. If you hover over this, my hover's not working. It should show you, there you go. It shows you the list of the columns. I mean, you can see it behind to the left anyway, but if you're trying to figure out, you know, where you want to place it, that's helpful for doing it. This info title here is what's going to display in the tooltips if you hover over the column. And if no one has any questions, I'll move on to the work cues. Okay. So whether you were aware or not, this little indicator on the task page has always shown you whether or not this specific task was in a workflow or a scenario. In this case, it's in a scenario called shortness of breath. And then, like I said, when we moved to TransIT 5, we changed it so you could click this, and when you open it, it created a little window here that you could work from. And in that window, it would give you a link to the direct spot. So if I click this link, it's going to take me to shortness of breath, and it's going to take me to where that this task is listed in that scenario. The problem with this was that you would sometimes have 20 or 30 things in this box. And as you started working through, if you'd made changes and you wanted to work through and make sure that your changes were appropriately reflected in the test script, you couldn't mark when things were done or not done. So what we've added is the ability to move things into a work queue. And this one in particular, it doesn't give me the add to work queue icon here. And the reason it doesn't is because I've already added this one to the work queue. To access the work queue, you just click this work queue icon and it takes you inside. And in this case, here's the one down here that I've added, and there's only one of them. But what you would do is you would click the link. So this is if the task were in a workflow, it would be in this column. If the task was in a scenario, it would be in this column. Or if it was a workflow you were working on, then it would obviously just be in the show in the scenario column. So if I click this link here, it's going to take me right to where that task is in that workflow. And you can see that it's right here. And so whatever the change was that I had done for this task, what I would do is typically go in and address all of the details here. And once I've filled in the details and I've said, yes, that everything's good to go here, I'm going to then click mark this instance done. And when I mark it done, it tells me the work queue entry is complete. I click OK. And when it refreshes, it then goes back to being just the task link here. So now because that one is no longer in the work queue, it's removed the work queue icon. If I go and look at workflows, it's the same thing, that these icons were here, and it's the same functionality that you would click here to get to it before. And now instead, if you're wanting to get to something in the work queue, or if we wanted to go in, for example, say we wanted to go into this workflow, and if we wanted to make a change and we wanted to address it. So say I said that this workflow, whatever the tab name is, I wanted that to automatically be in there for all of the workflows or where it's used. This one's already in the work queue, it looks like, as well. So if I click here now, it's going to take me into the work queue. And if I then want to go and start addressing it, I would click over here into this column. I'm not sure. Oh, no, it didn't add to it. So that workflow in particular wasn't in. Sorry, let me show that again. I'm wrong. This icon here means it's not in any scenarios. So it's not that it doesn't have the plus to get into the work queue, because it doesn't need to go into the work queue because it actually isn't in any scenarios yet. So it's a bad choice of examples. But if we go and look at this one here, so this one, the 245, and go inside this 245, it's already in my queue. So this is the icon here that tells you information about the queue. This is the one that gets you into the queue. So this one's already in the queue. So I guess in this one, what I did was I went in and put in more details that I want to carry through. So if I go to the work queue now and it's 245, here's my 245 here. So it's in these two scenarios. So it's added both of them in. And if I click here, it's going to take me to the first one. And when I say this one looks like this one's in green, and the reason it's in green is because I've already addressed this one. So if I go back to the work queue here and go to the next one, then I want to go through and do whatever I was supposed to do here, mark it done, and then it removes it from the queue. Does anybody have any questions about the work queue management? Okay, so I will show copying from one scenario to another, because this is, I think, so that was our tip of the month. And this is where I think a lot of times people end up with a whole bunch of duplicate tasks that they don't need. So if I was in a scenario, we'll just pick any one. And if I wanted to use these steps over again in another scenario, if it was the whole scenario or if it was a section of it, I don't have to export to Excel and then upload again, which is what I think a lot of people do at times. Instead, I can just highlight the rows that I want to use and right click and choose copy. And that's going to copy them to my clipboard. And then when I go to the other scenario that I want to put that into, whichever it is, and I right click and I do paste from clipboard. Sorry, I must have chosen the wrong kind of scenario. I think it's because it's not Epic. I got to go to an Epic one. So let me see. Oh, sorry, it's because I chose paste from clipboard. Angela, you should catch me on those. It's paste to end.
About to say that.
So paste from clipboard is what you don't want to do. It's paste to end. So now if I go and look at the end and scroll down to the bottom, you can see that it's copied in, and the thing is that it's retained. You see, it came from a one that was a ZZZ anyway, but it does keep the task number for you. So instead of this saying that it's the IR combo or whatever, it's from the scenario that I copied it from, which was the cadence scheduling. So much better than having duplicate tasks, ZZZ tasks that are only used in one spot. And so again, it's highlight the rows, right click and choose copy. And then when you go to paste, you either paste to end or you could also insert above. So I chose to paste to end there, but if I had been wanting to paste the tasks above here, I would have just right clicked and did insert above.
Can I just quickly point out, since you did that, just to point out the difference between the two. So the paste from clipboard would be used if you were pasting something in from Excel, whereas just the straight copy and paste is if you're doing it from items that are already within TransIT.
Right. And I guess we're trying to make the use of the paste from Excel less, and a future function that's coming before, if you wanted to import content from somewhere else, you had to put it into a scenario. We only had the scenario upload, but we're in the future going to have a feature that allows you to copy and paste multiple rows into a task or multiple rows into a workflow. That'll also get rid of a lot of those ZZZ tasks. So that was everything I planned to show. Does anyone have any questions?
Hi, it's Christina.
Hey, Christina.
I have a general question that is not really related specifically to these items that you demonstrated.
Sure.
So just kind of a general kind of concept question. I noticed when you were showing the work queues that there are times when a task is directly associated to the scenario. And I've been sort of preaching over here that tasks need to belong in workflows and workflows belong in scenarios. and sort of kind of pushing that.
And that would be,
concept.
that would be perfect. But there's always going to be connecting steps. So like you would have a workflow, for example, for doing allergy entry, and we have one for doing multiple allergies. But if multiple allergies is 2 and you've got to actually enter 3 allergies, then you still would have to enter that third allergy as a task as opposed to a workflow, because you're not going to build a workflow for 1 allergy, 2 allergies, 3 allergies, 4. So we
Got it.
typically have built for 1 and multiple, and then you're right though, Christina, as much as possible, you should be using workflows in scenarios. And so what we typically do is we build out all of the workflows, and then we take those workflows and put them into functional test scripts, validate that the workflows all work, and then start building your integration test scripts.
Okay. Okay.
Does anybody else have any other questions? So before everyone drops, because some people, I think, came on a little bit late and missed plans, I'm going to stop the recording, and then I'm going to go over the plans piece again for my friends who joined, who I specifically wanted to see it. So I'll turn off the recording. If there are other questions, then I can turn it back on. But for now, I'll turn off the recording so we don't show the same thing twice in the video. But I